You excited?
No.
In a world where it seems like too many people are going to the movies and talking about them, sometimes before they even get to see them, one son and his mom are going to give you the correct take on Even My Mom Has a Podcast. Hi guys, I'm Vaughn Fry. Joining me is
Mom.
And we are talking about a movie today, aren't we?
Indiana Jones and I don't know the title.
The Dial of Destiny.
The Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, we just got back from that.
Yeah, we had a son and mother date. I started to
Oh
say
my
son and
goodness.
daughter date.
Son and daughter date.
No, it was a son and mother date. Mother and son date.
Okay, so we went to the movie theater. You said, but I don't want the last movie we ever see together to be Batman with Michael Keaton. We'll still see other movies, so there we go.
We're going to see other movies. You're going to be seeing movies when I'm in the grave.
All right, so we just got back from this, and I think that the way we're going to present this here, we need to tell people quick what we thought about it, and then we'll get into, the plot breakdown and all that stuff. I'll tell you this, guys, up front here. This is the movie that all of those clickbait sect of niche anti-woke critics on YouTube have been rallying against, have been praying to just destroy, and they're just farming those clicks because really all of the she's so strong, powerful woman, she takes over Indiana Jones movie. That stuff doesn't happen. It's a bunch of nonsense. You're being duped. You're being lied to. All the people telling you that stuff, they're playing you because I thought there was just as much give and take here. You have a damsel in distress type like Willie Scott from Temple of Doom, and it's just, she yells the whole movie. And then you're like, well, okay, so she's useless. So if they're not useless and they're actually helpful, then they're taking over Indiana Jones movie. No, this was a pretty good trade between the two, and I think this movie was shockingly greatly exceeded my expectations. What'd you think?
I thought it was really good.
And I told you on the car ride home not to talk about the movie.
All he said was that, I had to ask him some names. I always forget characters' names.
Okay, so we both thought this was really good. Let's go ahead and get into how the movie starts out, okay?
Okay.
Did you take some notes on the movie?
No.
Okay, well, this will be great. All right, we start off, and we are in end of World War II. There's a guy with a bag over his head. This happens to Indiana Jones on occasion. He should carry a burlap bag with him to put over his head.
He should.
Right?
Then he wouldn't have to worry about germs.
Guys, I got this. I'll put the bag on myself.
Oh, that would have been funny.
I know how this goes, guys. Yeah. There was a movie where like a girl got tied up. No, remember Téa Leoni in Bad Boys? She spent so much of the movie handcuffed to something. Okay, never mind.
No.
So Indiana Jones.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Yes. That does tie into this. This is the first Indiana Jones not directed by Steven Spielberg.
Oh, really?
Raiders of the Lost Ark. The guy that this young kid was working on drawing the storyboards for that, and it was Michael Bay. It was his first movie job.
Seriously, and now
while he's drawing up the storyboards, he's like, "This movie looks terrible. This is going to be awful."
Oh wow!
He was just so pessimistic about that. So anyway, Indiana Jones. It's Harrison Ford with the computer de-aging, and I'll tell you this, guys. I'm not going to say it's flawless, but it is more than passable good enough.
I was thinking, man, he's looking pretty good.
Wait, you didn't even. My
age.
mom didn't even realize there was computer effects involved.
I was thinking, he's looking pretty good. And then when he woke up, I'm going, oh man, he's looking bad.
So you think they used makeup to make him look old? Is that what happened?
No, I don't think so.
So whatever process they did, I don't think that they do a true deep fake here. People can do the deep fake thing pretty well. It'll look good on your phone. To look good on a giant screen, this is probably projected in 8K or something. One of the biggest screens in the city, and in a city that prides itself for having big movie screens, right? I thought this looked more than passably good enough, and it probably was incredibly expensive because this opening sequence is rather prolonged. This might be the longest Indiana Jones first MacGuffin of sorts. Usually he goes after something, it doesn't really pertain to the rest of the movie. Hey, it's this diamond and the guy's ashes. Hey, get me the idol with the sandbag, things like that.
Tied
Cross of
together
Coronado. In this movie, he's going after this
Okay,
knife.
let's don't do spoilers.
Yes, we're doing this. Is the way we're doing this.
Wait,
we told people up front that we liked it.
I know.
And then they can come back to this when they're done watching it.
Okay, well, please don't let us spoil it for you. I mean, go see the movie because it's good.
That's what you're trying to say. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's going after this knife that stabbed Jesus. So we're trying to get back away from the space people. You didn't see that last movie, did you, with the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
No, I haven't seen the last
Lucky
couple
you.
of movies. I didn't see the blow up the
You saw
refrigerator movie.
that was the last one. That was with the prairie dogs, the refrigerator, nuke
I
the
didn't
fridge.
see that one.
Okay, you saw the one with Sean Connery, right? That was the one right before
Yeah,
it, but it
I
was
like that one.
We're taking a lot of time between Indiana Joneses at the rate we're going here.
Well, gosh, all the people that worked on this movie, no wonder it took forever.
Well, he's going after this knife, and it turns out it's a fake. The Nazis have it. They're getting aboard this train. There's some other shenanigans. A lot of Nazis getting punched and stabbed and shot at and all sorts of stuff. He has a little buddy with him, short guy. I think his name's Toby Jones. I think he's kind of hard to recognize. He's just really small, but he's in a lot of
German
things.
hat on.
No, his character was British, I think.
I know, but he was dressed like a German.
Okay, well, anyway.
Bird watcher.
They go.
I caught that and you didn't.
They get on the train and they're looking for the artifacts. There's just Germans are evidently fleeing the area, the French Alps, right? All of these special effects in this opening sequence are so much better than one would have anticipated, especially if it's a night and day difference between this and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, a movie which had almost no good special effects whatsoever versus more than passable for anything else these days. This looked every bit as expensive as anything out there. Almost like
and
Avatar.
That's high praise
almost.
from you. Gosh.
I think that I could have gone a whole movie with Indiana Jones looking the way he did at the beginning of this.
That would have
if
been
they
fun.
wanted to do that, I would have been okay with that.
You would have bought it?
It was more than acceptable. But he didn't look like Indiana Jones when he's Indiana Jones. He looked more like Harrison Ford circa Patriot Games to me. If they made Indiana Jones in the 90s, this might be what he looked like. Is that what you thought? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of what they were going for. Well, he doesn't get that fake dagger thing, but he looks for some other stuff. There's this evil German guy on the train, and we can't really get his name. I think his name's Voller.
Well, it changes in the movie.
Later on, they call him Schmidt. I'm going to call him Mads, or Mads Mikkelsen, because that's who he is. He's really kind of cornered the market on evil white guy for movies, because you got to have an evil white guy, right? So
right.
in these times, so he's really got that worked out well for him. And they decide to grab this dial. It's the Dial of Destiny, which no one really calls it that. They called it something else that was hard to pronounce. Do you remember?
Archimedean or something like that?
Okay, it was this guy Archimedes may have made this dial, and this is half of it. You got to find the other half. You know, they have a treasure hunt they got to do, right? There's explosions all over the place.
There's time travel.
We will get there.
Okay.
The anti-aircraft gun that was shooting down the planes, the Allied planes, it gets turned around, shoots up the train. They have to jump out as the bridge is getting blown up, everything. But this guy, I was expecting him to get killed, the little guy. No, Indiana Jones saved him. And I guess he needed to, because flash forward to, they never said the year on this. Shockingly, there's no chyron saying the year. Evidently, the 60s.
Well, there's
we're in the
Man on
space
the Moon.
race. Okay. I think that the Apollo mission that went on the moon, they mentioned Neil Armstrong, right? I think I heard his name mentioned on the TV.
It was 69 or something like that, or 67.
So they're returning.
I was in grade school.
And Harrison Ford is now looking like modern day Harrison Ford. Decrepit, right?
Well,
I'll tell you this, he doesn't have a lot of hair on his body, does he? You think they waxed him real good?
No, he's probably not very hairy.
He had like no back hair or arm hair or chest hair or nothing.
Well, they probably maybe waxed his back, but I doubt if he had. You don't have back hair.
I'm getting back hair.
Oh, don't admit it.
Well, you don't say I don't have it.
You're getting old.
So he is just down on his luck. He's finishing up he's been at this place for 10 years. It's not the school he's been to before. This looks a little less academically inclined students. Everybody's sleeping through class, right? But he'll mention this Archimedes guy and this siege of Syracuse, and there's a new student of sorts kind of there answering the questions, and we'll get more on her in a bit. They give him a terrible retirement party with a clock he's not interested in, and he throws it away.
Gives it to somebody else.
Gives it to a drifter.
Yeah.
And they're organizing the street for the ticker
tape parades. Yes. They don't do that anymore.
No, because there's nothing to celebrate these days.
We'll talk about the major pollution. But I remember when they had the guys came back from the moon and they had the ticker tape parade.
What about the pollution?
Well, they don't do that anymore.
You mean the littering? Is that
it would be horrible. They don't litter it like that anymore.
All right. Well, there are some bad guys who are following that gal who catches up with Indiana Jones, and it turns out it's his goddaughter, the little guy from the first action sequence. This is his daughter, who is a foot taller than him. And
I was thinking, man, he must have had a really tall wife, or her mother must have been really tall.
They kind of drop a little exposition here. He died, whatever, but he wanted you to destroy this thing. Can you take me to it? So he gives it to her and all this stuff. But it turns out she's in debt to some guys in, Algiers or somewhere?
Algiers, and I think they go to Casablanca, too.
She has to retrieve this item, has to get out of this debt sort of situation, okay? Yeah. And I think that we're kind of reintroduced to the bad guy who didn't get taken out by Indiana Jones, though he seemed like he got beat up pretty bad. Didn't seem to have a lasting mark on him. But Mads Mikkelsen, I think, was also de-aged in the 1940s scene. I think so, because he looked a little older here also.
Well, everybody would have had to be de-aged.
Well, not her dad, because remember the little guy, the bird watcher? He didn't appear later in the 60s to have to be de-aged, right?
Right.
So they could have just rolled with it, whatever he's going to be. That'll be his age.
Right.
And this guy, he's going by Schmidt now, Mads Mikkelsen. He's responsible for the rockets going up in space. He's going to get a medal from the president, but that's not good enough. He wants this Archimedes dial. He wants the dial of destiny because it does things beyond space travel, okay?
Yeah.
So
he can change history.
They didn't really explain until much later what it might be able to do. Just this guy wants it, so I guess we got to not have him get it, right?
Right.
He's got a few people with him. He's got this guy with a mustache who likes to shoot everybody and ask questions later.
All he does is shoot people. Does he have a line?
Actor's name's Boyd Holbrook, I believe, and he was in Logan, which was directed by this director, James Mangold, who's picking up the Indiana Jones films from Steven Spielberg. First one not directed by Spielberg. Previous film I think he did was Ford versus Ferrari, which you liked.
I did like that.
And there's also a giant dude. I think his name's Olivier Richter.
That guy was huge.
He's 7'2". He's considered the biggest bodybuilder. He's kind of the final word on big muscular.
Is he American? Or is he from
I
United
don't think
States?
so. I think they call him like the Swedish Giant or something.
Okay.
He didn't have a lot of lines.
Well, I didn't hear him talk either.
No.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's about it.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
Just about that, right?
Yeah.
So they're shooting up secretaries at his old university of sorts.
They shoot anything that moves.
There's a big chase during the ticker tape parade, right?
Yeah.
And
kids nowadays don't even know what that is. What's a ticker tape? What's going on?
People will say, oh, this looks so corny and bad in the trailer and all this. I think they've polished up the effects since they showed you the trailer. I didn't think that Harrison Ford on that horse didn't look real enough to take me out of the movie. There's one spot where he turns around with the horse and it's kind of like, what is it, yang or something? It's up on its hind legs, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's Harrison Ford. I think there are other points here where Harrison Ford actually is riding that a horse, and then there's some parts where it's a little fudged up. But I'll tell you this: look at Last Crusade. There's a lot of wonky composite shots in that where they're not really flying a plane through a tunnel and things of the such. And this looks better than that. Get over it. He even goes through a subway and it looks perfectly okay. Passable enough, right?
Right.
Well, he has to go across the ocean to, was it Algiers or something? There's
First Algiers, then Casablanca, and then I'm not sure.
He has to go catch up with
Sicily.
With his goddaughter, Helena, who other people call Helena. I never know how you're supposed to pronounce that. It's like Anne or Anna or
And Indy
Anna.
also calls her Wombat.
Wombat.
Yeah.
Yes. Do we want to call her Wombat?
Let's call her Wombat.
She's holding an auction for this half of the dial, right?
in this club in Algiers.
And there's some ex-fiance of sorts that once are dead because
with a
their
big
dad's
knife.
the crime
There's
boss.
lots of big knives in this movie.
Occasionally, yes. He also Indiana Jones. He's now got his fedora, his whip, his jacket. He got a little bit of help from Sala, buddy from the first film, who even
Yeah.
volunteered to go with him overseas. And he's like, "Nah, this isn't your fight. You're old. Stay home. You have grandkids to watch. Something like that, right?"
Yeah.
And he runs into at the auction this guy Teddy, who is the short round of this film. He
Yeah.
is the short round to Helena,
Yep.
Wombat.
Yep.
He's Wombat. She even mentioned later in the film that she caught him stealing from him, and now he works for him. They're inseparable. Same origin story as Short Round.
Yep.
I didn't anticipate a character like that coming up in this.
It's just is it just like, what's it called? This is a
Quit
formula.
hitting the cables and stuff.
This is a formula for Indiana Jones. Definitely a formula.
It's similar to Temple of Doom anyway, as far as that goes.
Right.
Well, Indy, he wants the device, right? He cracks his whip. Everybody pulls guns. There's a chase through the streets. There's an auto rickshaw chase through tiny streets, and it's really good. That was a pretty good chase, wasn't it? He's driving through. Everybody else is chasing him. You got other people coming in, chasing, jumping from one rickshaw to the other. There was one beat up rickshaw that even got working later to take them to a boat.
These were motorized rickshaws.
Yeah, I think they call it an auto rickshaw.
Okay.
And I thought that was a good chase, didn't you?
It was all awesome. I enjoyed it.
It was pretty thrilling. Now, there is a line here from the Wombat character where he's like, "How did you end up like this?" And she's like, "What? Attractive and self-reliant or something?" Like, she gives a sassy line. All of these clickbaity anti-woke YouTube channels are keying in on that line and going, "It's going to be 2.5 hours of this woman berating Indiana Jones, stealing the movie from him, and telling you how great women are and how you had to send a woman to do a man's job." All this stuff never happens in the movie.
I don't think so. That's not even.
She gives as well as she gets, and he has to rescue her. They solve puzzles together. Everything works out pretty evenly, really.
Yes.
And I think Harrison Ford actually looks better in this movie than he did in Crystal Skull.
He's
I
aging
think
well.
so. She pointed out when he wore the hat, he looked 2 years younger.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years younger, maybe. They go to a boat that is going to take them on a little bit of a Ocean Gate style deep sea diving mission of sorts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, except without the sub to have problems,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
They just have little.
And did you catch
air
who was the
tubes.
captain of the boat?
He's from the old movies.
Antonio Banderas. He's not in the old movies, no.
Gosh, he played the old man.
He wasn't that old. He had a beard and it was graying.
I didn't realize it was him. I was going to ask you, when was
He's
Antonio Banderas?
At the end of the
was in
movie,
there?
he's third billing.
I
was
saw
like,
it.
what is he doing third billing? He's in
I saw.
5 minutes. If
I
left.
know, but I didn't know who he was.
So that was Antonio Banderas. Okay. More on him when
Good
we
character
talk about
acting
that
there.
post the movie here. So they go down, they pick up something from this boat. Everybody's kind of figuring out where this device is, this other MacGuffin that will lead them to the second piece. Bad guys catch up with them. Antonio Banderas takes a few bullets for the team. There's an explosion. It looks like Helena has a bit of a character flaw. She's all about the money, right? Her and Teddy, they're going to get rich selling this stuff. Indiana Jones, she describes him as a grave robber, which is appropriate, but this belongs in a museum. Well, how come it doesn't belong in the tomb? Why couldn't you have left it there, right?
Yeah, she played.
Why is it up to you to
Yeah.
be the guy? I think it was worthwhile for someone to point this out.
Yeah.
They make an escape. The bad guys are going to chase their boat, and you notice that they had a little bit of a change to the map. You know, the dun 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 dun, dun, and it shows the red line showing the connecting routes.
I like that.
They updated that a little bit, but it was there.
I liked it.
I like that. That was nice.
I do.
And
Kind of
they-
reminds me when we travel to Europe. You're on an airplane and
they
it shows you
ended
where
up-
you are on the airplane.
Was this like around
across
Italy?
the ocean?
Someplace,
Yeah,
right?
Sicily, where
Was it
we've
Italy?
been.
Okay.
Yep.
They end up over there, and they have to do a little bit of spelunking. They steal a new bride and groom's car, and then they have to go do some cave.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
you probably shouldn't do that.
probably not.
But they go through the cave, and they solve some puzzles. Indiana Jones figures out they have to mess with the water and the
Yeah,
gears
it
and
was-
stuff. She
it
was
was
trying to
really
open a
good.
door, but he pitches in. It's
He
still his
figured it
movie.
out, yeah.
It's still his movie. And
He's still the star.
well, before the bad guys catch up with him, the Teddy, he gets kidnapped, right? And he ends up actually offing the giant guy because they fall into this water walking this
Yeah,
rickety
that was
bridge.
good.
That little narrow, I know it's a rickety bridge instead of rocks or whatever, but it reminded me of the Goonies, how they had to cross like a tiny little river rapid in a tunnel and someone like slips or something. They remind me of the Goonies in that way. But Teddy, he was useful. He was okay with killing a giant dude, like handcuffing him to
Is this his
a
first
fence.
movie?
I don't know.
Maybe like 20 years from now, he'll get a Academy Award.
Oh, well, 40 years later?
Yeah, 40
Like,
years.
Is that the way this works now?
Yeah.
So they catch up with Archimedes' grave site because that's where they think he buried himself with the other half of this dial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And they find him, and he's got on him what? A watch.
A watch.
He has a
Dun,
modern
dun,
watch.
dun.
It's like, what
And
are we doing here?
And on his, I guess, casket or his tomb is a helicopter, which is weird.
A helicopter?
Yeah, it could have been an airplane, but a helicopter.
I don't think I saw the
know.
helicopter. I didn't catch
Remember?
it.
Yeah, she says there's a helicopter on here.
Oh, well.
That was kind of a mess up there.
Well.
Well,
They get the dial. All this is complete, but oh no, Mads Mikkelsen's here. I'm taking the dial. All this, right?
yeah.
And then they
Over
also
and
shoot
over.
Indiana Jones, and he's bleeding pretty bad. This is a shot near the heart.
I know, I thought he was
shot
gonna
through the
die.
heart, and you're to blame. You give love a bad name, right? That's what happened. They didn't play the
guess.
song, but at this point, Indiana Jones, he's a little encumbered, right? Because he's gunshot. They've taken him aboard a
Can't
plane.
keep him down. He's Indiana Jones.
Mads has explained that the plan is to win the war. He even complained to a guy at a hotel earlier that America didn't win the war. Hitler lost it. We would have won it, but that
Yeah,
goofball
that was
messed it
his
up.
big line.
So his plan is to dress all of his buddies as Nazis, get in a World War II plane, which you thought was one that Dad boarded
American
recently.
one. Yeah, he went on a flight.
I'm not going to say it isn't, but I'm assuming they were in a German plane of some
Looked
kind.
like the plane Dad went on, so I don't know. Your father went on.
They get aboard the plane and they are going to use the device to travel back in time and win the war by
We're gonna
taking
go
out.
back in time.
Do. Okay, got to get back into. So their plan isn't to take out. He's Indiana Jones. He's asking, "What are you going to do? Take out Ike, Churchill?" It's like, no, we're going to take out Hitler, because he's the one that messed up the war for us.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, my biggest complaint with the film, I don't understand the MacGuffin at all.
What's a MacGuffin?
A MacGuffin is a term that,
It's like a McMuffin?
who's that director that did Psycho? Now I feel stupid.
Oh, gosh. You and me both.
Oh, now I'm going to feel really stupid for looking this up.
gosh.
Everybody make fun of us while
Make
we're...
fun of Vaughn, the film major.
He doesn't have an Oscar. This director, he's super famous, Alfred Hitchcock.
Yes.
It's a term Alfred Hitchcock came up with for the thing everybody's looking for in a movie. And the less you say about it, usually the stronger it is, because then it remains mysterious.
Then what was in this movie?
Well, the MacGuffin is everything what they're looking for, but they use the dial to somehow alert them to where a portal will appear in a storm so that they can go back in time. This is not Doc Brown's DeLorean. There is a lot of
You know
Take-
what? It
take a
reminded
shot in
me
the
of.
dark.
Remember what's that movie about the ship? They're on the ship and they go back in time.
final countdown. Do-do-do-do-do.
Is that it?
Do-do-do-do. That's the name of the movie, The Final Countdown.
Okay.
It's like that. They didn't know where they were going.
It's like a whole break in the
I don't.
clouds.
It really seems like that the dial was turned out to ultimately be completely irrelevant to the movie because they just go through the clouds, right? Like,
Yeah, but before they go through the clouds, Indiana goes, "You don't know where you're going. You're going. You can't control it." So that's kind
That
of a
is
foreshadowing that he's going to be screwed.
and they end up in a time that was they overshot going back. They went to lo
Just
and
a little
behold
bit.
the battle Indiana Jones was talking about in his class.
yeah,
what a coincidence. A little too much coincidence there for my liking.
I was really surprised they had those big metal arrows that could go up to an airplane.
I'll tell you what was surprising about it. That scene didn't look like garbage.
It looked awesome.
They flew around, and there was those
Very
were they
believable.
trireme boats that looked as good as any you've seen in a similar movie. It looked like you walked into the movie Troy all of a sudden.
I liked the way there's two airplanes they're flying in, and it's like it dawned on us.
Teddy had escaped, and he got a plane, and
Yeah.
he chased them. Yeah.
So it was so awesome how they did it, because it dawned on the viewer at the same time it dawned on the characters where they were. You know, it was really good. What part of
Because it was all
all
shown from their perspective.
Yeah, it was
so
very
much.
good.
And then we saw the perspective of some people, and they've got dragons. What are we going to do?
Yeah, they call the airplanes dragons.
Well, what else would you call it, right?
I know,
You
that's weird.
Well, also aboard the plane, Wombat, she caught up in a motorcycle as they were taking off, and
That was pretty awesome stunt.
That was not. It wasn't the most realistic thing, but also wasn't garbage. It was not Mutt, Indiana Jones' son, swinging from vines and chilling with monkeys and stuff. That happened in a previous movie.
Okay.
It did. Take my word. I'm not making it up. And it's awful. So this was an event that occurred, and she's on the plane. She's there to rescue Indiana Jones, but he has to save her too. They take a parachute. They bail out. Mads Mikkelsen, bad shooty cracker, as the black CIA called him, trigger happy cracker, which
this was in the
like
1969.
Okay.
That was, and she had an afro. It was really very good.
I don't think you could
timeline.
flip that around though. Him calling her something
No.
of that.
Not even
right?
then.
No. But
It was very
they
good.
they bail out of the plane. Bad guys crash and they find his watch and stuff, and that maybe
Yeah.
end up how the guy got the watch and look, time travel's impossible. We don't need to get into that. But in this manner, there's the causality loop. You would have had the device if we hadn't brought it back for you. He wouldn't have ended up with the watch if we hadn't brought it back, as we're just about to do, right?
That's true.
That's the way this
But
played
they
out.
left it. They left the watch and stuff with them.
Indiana Jones and Wombat, they get up on the beach. Indiana Jones not doing so good. He's like, you know what? I want to stay here. This is my fate here. This is my destiny. I want to stay here. I don't have anything for me out there. If I could have gone somewhere different, I would have warned my son not to enlist because he would have died. That's why we never see Shia LaBeouf's character, which you're not even familiar with because I was his son in the last movie.
Did you? So then what happens?
She punches him in the face and kidnaps him and brings him home.
Yeah.
Teddy's plane worked, so I guess they flow through. You could just fly back through the portal, it'll just take you back to where you stopped.
Well, their time
right?
was about to run out. They barely made it through.
Calculations based on what? I'm really not sure. They could have just found a portal and went back through.
They could have ended up in a different place.
I think that's just as likely, really.
Yeah.
But we see Indiana Jones recuperating. He's bandaged up. She's
Waking
like,
up.
"How you doing?" He's like, "Well, my jaw hurts more than the gunshot." She punched him in the face, right?
Yeah.
But who walks into the apartment there?
His wife. His
Marion,
ex-wife,
yeah.
And they make up.
When I saw her, I thought, how much history did Wombat meddle with? Did she go and fix their marriage and save Mutt? Nope. Mutt's never mentioned or anything.
No.
I think it's presumed that he died, that they didn't correct anything. I don't think that they're back before they left. I think that they're, a day later or something.
Yeah, she just went and told the wife, he's
Yeah.
back, he loves you.
Everybody seemed to be aware of his current situation pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So it wasn't like they actually interfered with the past. So we've actually watched back-to-back time travel movies in which people, I guess, could have messed with time, but tried to do as little as possible to change
Yeah,
it.
that's weird, isn't it? What's the deal with all the time travel movies?
It's kind of
we've got
crazy.
going on?
Yeah. So it looks like he's going to be able to fix things with Karen Allen. She was there for a couple minutes, and so we got to see Marion, and Wombat took all the kids off to go get ice cream. Last shot, we've got the fedora hanging out, drying on a clothesline, and I guess Harrison Ford grabs it back like, I'm not done yet.
Not done yet. Let's hope he's not.
Well, I think this might be the last we see of him in this capacity. Maybe we'll get really crafty with the de-aging and who knows what? Maybe it'll be a video game type adventure, something going forward for Indiana Jones.
I could see her being like the new Indiana Jones.
I think you're kind of supposed to think that, and you're supposed to think that about Mutt also. And he tries to get the hat at the end of the last movie. Harrison Ford snatches it from him. He's like, "Not yet, kid," or something like that.
Yeah.
He says something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily going to be Helena and Teddy, going forward.
You know, in other Indiana Jones movies, he was like rescuing the woman a little bit. This
It
one
was kind of nice that
this
he
wasn't
didn't have a love
rescue.
interest to rescue.
Yeah.
He had this gal and this little boy, and they're doing things, but it wasn't so much like
They
hey,
were like equals.
well, you got a guy knocking on 80. Does he really need a romantic interest?
He just wants his wife back.
I thought he did an appropriate amount of action too. He didn't look awful in it.
And he did
Doing
complain
things.
when they were climbing. He said, I'm old. I've been shot such and such times. I've got a metal plate in my
I
knee
had to
and all
drink
kinds.
the blood
Yeah.
from Malaram, and he
Yeah.
mentioned a few of his adventures. That
And
was
then
nice.
she passed him up. Well, obviously, she's going to be in better shape than him.
All right, so my score, I give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Dun.
I give it 3 out of 4 stars. What about you?
3 3/4 stars. I really liked
Out
it.
of what?
Out of 4.
Okay.
We're getting there. Oh man, it's really close. It was good.
That's a weird way to rank something, but I won't disagree
That's a
with
mom
you.
ranking.